Hello Queens and Kings, my name is Thandeka Shabangu. Welcome to my channel. If it is your first time here, welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Welcome to this tutorial. We'll be doing a beaded tie. So hopefully, if we can, we're going to have this tutorial in 2 parts, but if anything happens, we're going to have it in 3 parts. So what materials we'll be using for this tutorial? We're going to use your 8-knot dash beads. We're going to be using your upholstery thread and your needle. So let's get started. We're going to take the end. We're going to use a single thread. We're going to take your end, do this. You make 1, 2, 3 circles, and then you push your needle. You pull your needle, you don't push it, sorry. And then you have your knot, one on top of the other. The stitch that I'll be using to create this tie is our brick stitch. I was 2 years old when I learned that there are 3 types of brick stitch. The one that we'll be doing today is the brick stitch. And then there's also a Comanche and a pivot. This one that we're doing is a brick stitch because we'll be using our thread to weave. Yeah, it will make sense as we continue. So you're going to pick up 2 beads and we push them to the end. And then you're going to take our needle, insert it into the first bead that we picked up, and then you pull your needle. So you start off by making a ladder stitch. So as you can see, the beads are side by side. Going to insert your needle into the next door neighbor. And then when your thread is, how can I put this, when your thread when your thread is out from your last bead, that's when you know that it's time to pick up another bead. Okay, so I picked up another bead. I'm going to insert my needle into the previous bead. So the thread is poking out from the middle bead, not from the last bead that we just added. So that means we can't pick up another bead. So you just have to go back and make sure that your thread is pointed out from the last bead. That's when you know that you can add a new bead. Insert your needle and pull. Let me sort this out quickly. I have sorted out my problem. Then insert your needle into the last bead. So the thread is pointing out from the last bead. That means you are able to add another bead. So insert your needle and you continue. So you continue with this. You keep adding your beads. You have 15 beads, so you keep adding until you have 15 beads in total. Currently we have 5, so you're going to add 10 more beads. So I'm going to add the 10 beads off camera and then we're going to come back and continue. So this is my 15 beads. So now it's time to turn. So this is the pattern that we're making. This was my mom's project. She was meant to do Ivulagabini here. She was supposed to make 21 of these diamonds. Unfortunately, she couldn't finish it. She passed away in October. So yeah, we're gonna take inspiration from this one. So what we're gonna do, if you observe from this pattern, in the corner you have navy beads. So when you pick up your beads with you, when you do this brick stitch, you're going to pick up two beads. So the first bead is always going to be your navy blue, and then your second bead is going to be white. The first bead is always going to be your navy bead because it makes up this navy border. So what we're going to do now, we're going to, this is what I meant by the definition of a brick stitch, where you're using the loops of the thread to weave. So these are the loops. So the first loop, this is where you're going to insert our needle. Then insert a needle into the white bead. Insert it into the navy bead, and then back up into the white bead. Insert your needle and then you pull your thread. So now you're going to keep picking up beads. So the next row, you're going to make a plain white row. So you only pick up two beads at the corner. Now what we're going to do, you're going to pick up one bead. You look into the next loop thread, and you're going to insert your needle under that loop, and then you pull. Then insert your needle upwards, and then you pull. You pick up another bead, you look into the next loop thread, which is the next door neighbor, and that's where you insert your needle under that thread, and then you pull. Insert your needle upwards like this, and then you pull. I don't know if I'm pulling right or if I'm pulling. Oh, yes. I saw it making knots, so I was not sure if I was pulling the right thread. So as you can see, as you continue, the brick stitch is formed. You pick up one bead, you insert your needle under the thread loop, and you can see, like, it's not focusing, as you can see here, under that thread loop, and then you pull. Insert your needle into the bead upwards. So you want to continue all the way until you get to the last bead. So I'm going to come back. So you continue inserting your beads into the loops next to each other until you get to the last bead, and then we're going to come back when you get to that point. So we've pushed until we got to the corner. Now we have to turn. So you want to pick up one blue and one white. Insert your needle under the first loop, and then you pull your thread. Allow it to sit side to side, and then insert your needle upwards into the white bead. Then you pull, insert back into the blue bead, and up into the white bead, and then you pull. You pick up your next white bead, insert your needle under the thread, needle upwards into the bead, then you pull. You pick up your white bead, insert your needle under the loop thread, then you pull, needle up into the bead upwards, and then you pull. You pick up a bead under the loop, into the bead upwards, then you pull. So you're going to keep going until you have 6 white beads. Currently we have 4 white beads, so you're going to add 2 more white beads. So now we're back. So you have 6 white beads. So now we're going to start with the bottom part of our diamond, the one blue bead. So you're going to pick up 1 blue bead, 1 powder blue, or 1 light blue. Almost said night blue. 1 light blue bead. That is the one that you're going to add. Insert your needle upwards. There we go. So the rest of your line, you're going to add white beads. So I'm going to pause the video and then you're going to continue adding your white beads until you get to the end of the row. Now I made it to the corner where we finally meet. So you're going to pick up 1 navy bead and 1 white bead. So insert your needle under the first loop. Then you pull your thread. Make sure it's seated nice side by side. Insert your needle upwards into the white bead. You pull your thread. Oopsie, I pulled too much. Then insert your needle downwards into the blue bead. And then upwards into the white bead. Then you're going to pick up 1 white bead. So you keep going like this until you get closer to the powder blue bead. So I pick up another white bead. I pick up another white bead. Another white bead. Another white bead. So this is the last white bead we're going to pick up before the blue. So if you notice that we have the next 2 loops that are closer to our blue. Because we're making a triangle, remember a triangle starts off small and it keeps in, we're making a diamond, sorry, at the bottom of a diamond, moving towards the center, the diamond keeps growing. So we started with 1 blue bead. So the next row we're supposed to have 2 blue beads of the triangle. The next row we're gonna have 3, 4, 5, all the way until we get to the center of the diamond. So the next 2 beads, you're gonna pick up your powder blue beads. Then you pick up your other powder blue bead. So here is our bottom part for our diamond. So you add 6 beads and then your 2 powder blue beads. So you're going to continue with the white beads on the other side, and then we're going to meet while we're doing the second row. We have arrived at the corner. Pick up 1 blue and 1 white bead. Insert your needle under the loop thread, and then insert your needle upwards like this. So now you're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to add 4 white beads, and then we are going to come back and continue. I've added my 4 white beads. So now we're going to add 3 blue beads. So remember the diamond, in each row it keeps on growing. So in the first row we had 1, second row we had 2. So now we're going to have 3 blue beads. 3 light blue beads. So this is my first light blue bead. Now I'm going to add my second light blue bead. Now I'm going to add my third light blue bead. And then the rest we're going to add white beads until we get to the corner, and then we meet again. Made it all the way to the corner. Now we start a new line. So you add 1 blue and 1 white bead. Just gonna flip it like this. Insert your needle under the thread loop. You can also call it a bridge because it connects the 2 beads. Whether it's a loop or it's a bridge. Set your needle downwards and then upwards. Then you pull. So here you're going to pick up 4 white beads, and then we're going to add our 4 blue beads. So 4 white beads and 4 blue beads. We're going to meet afterwards. The reason I'm doing this and I'm not going over each step is because I would like for us to save time. So you add 4 white beads and 4 blue beads. So I have added my 4 white beads and my 4 blue beads. So you're going to continue with the rest of the row, and then we're going to meet when we start another row. So now we're starting the new row. So you're going to pick up 1 blue bead and 1 white bead. For every corner, when we start a new row, we're going to pick up 1 blue bead and 1 white bead. As long as we continue with this pattern, That is how we're going to move. So insert your needle upwards into the white bead, and then downwards into the blue bead, and then upwards into the white bead. So now you're going to add 3 more white beads. Going to add 3 more white beads, and then we're going to come back when you get to the light blue part. So this is how it looks like after adding the 3 more white beads. So now we're going to introduce the navy part that is inside the powder blue main diamond. So how do we do that? We're going to add 2 powder blue beads, our navy bead, and then 2 powder blue beads. Just have to make sure that the navy bead is in the center, it's central. So this is the first powder blue bead. This is the second powder blue bead. And then I'm going to put the navy bead in the center, in the middle. So we're going to pick up the navy blue bead, and then pick up 2 more light blue beads after the navy bead. So in total you'll have 5 beads. In total you have 5 beads next to each other. So this is how it is. So after having your 5 blue beads, you're going to continue with the white blue beads for the rest of the row. So you're going to come back when you start a new row. Now you're starting a new line. Your standard, your navy and your white bead. Add the beads next to each other. Downwards and then upwards. So now you're going to add your white beads. You're going to add 3 white beads, and then we're going to come back. So once you've added, you're going to add 2 light blue beads, 2 navy beads, and 2 light blue beads. And then when you continue, after that you're going to continue adding your white beads. So I'm going to come back once I'm done with the row. Yeah, so it's after adding the 3 white beads, you're going to add 2 light blue, 2 navy, 2 light blue, and then white. This is how it looks like once you're finished with the line. So now we're going to get started with our new line. So you add your standard, your navy, and your white. So for this row, you're going to add 2 white beads, 2 light blue beads, 3 navy blue beads, 2 light blue beads, and then you continue with your white. So you're going to add 2 white, 2 light blue, 3 navy, 2 light blue, and then you continue with your white. So we're going to meet when we finished the row. So this is the row once it's completed. Now we're going to get started with the next row. As you can see, our diamond is starting to take shape, and it's looking beautiful. So for this row, how are we going to move? How are we going to add our beads? You're going to add 2 white beads, 2 powder blue beads, 4 navy beads, 2 powder blue beads, and then you continue with your white beads. So 2 white beads, 2 powder blue beads, 4 navy blue beads, 2 powder blue beads, and then continue with the white beads when you complete the rest of the row. So this is how the row looks like. Now we're getting started on a new one. So you pick up 1 navy and 1 white bead, the standard the standard combo. Insert your needle and then upwards. So now, how are you going to go about in this row? So for this row, this is where you're going to start introducing your third color. In this case, we have a silver center. So how are you going to move? You are going to pick up 1 white bead, 2 powder blue beads, 2 navy, 1 silver, 2 navy, 2 powder blue, and you continue with your white bead. So 1 white, 2 powder blue, 2 navy, 1 silver, 2 navy, 2 powder blue, and then you continue with the white. I'm going to come back to show you the progress. And you too show me your progress. Once you've added the silver at the center, so pick up 1 navy, 1 white bead. That is a standard as we continue. So how are we going to go about? So now you're going to add 1 white bead, 2 powder blue beads, 2 navy beads, 2 silver beads, 2 navy beads, 2 powder blue beads, and white bead as you continue. So it's 1 white, 2 powder blue, 2 navy, 2 silver, 2 navy, 2 powder blue, and then you continue with your white. So it's like a 2 2, everything is 2 2. So I'm gonna come back and show you the progress. So this is how it is. Kings and queens, can you just take a moment to appreciate the progress of our pattern? It's coming well. So I pick up 1 navy bead and 1 white bead. You insert your needle into that 1 white bead. Insert into the blue bead and then back into the white bead. So I'm sure you're used to us adding white beads first, but we're not going to do that. We go straight into adding the 2 light blue beads. So you're going to add 2 light blue beads, 2 navy beads, and 3 silver beads, and then 2 navy beads and 2 light blue beads. So 2 light blue, 2 navy, 3 silver, 2 navy, 2 light blue. And then you continue. So this is how our diamond looks so far. So this row that we just completed, that is the biggest part of our diamond. So moving forward, our diamond is going to decrease. So how do we go about decreasing our diamond? At the center, that is where we're going to start decreasing. So we currently have 3 silver beads. So in the next row, instead of adding 4 silver beads, we're going to add 2 silver beads. So now we're going to turn. I'm going to pick up 1 navy bead and 1 white bead. Insert your needle. Then instead of increasing by adding powder blue, instead we're going to add our 1 white bead. And then after that, we're going to add our 2 powder blue beads. Then we add our 2 navy beads. And then we add 2 silver beads. And then 2 navy beads. And then 2 powder blue beads. And then you continue with the white beads. So our diamond has to, for this row, it has to start decreasing. So you have your 2 powder blue beads, 2 navy, 2 silver, 2 navy, 2 powder blue, and then your white. I'm going to come back to show you the progress. So this is how the line is once we complete it. Now we're moving on to the second row. How are we going to go about in this row? What you're going to do, you're going to add, once you've added your 2 navy and white beads at the corner, you're going to add 1 white bead, 2 powder blue, 2 navy, 1 silver. Remember here we have 2 silver beads, but now you're going to add 1 silver bead, 2 navy, 2 powder blue, and you continue with your white. So 1 white, 2 powder, 2 navy, 1 silver, 2 navy, 2 powder, and then you continue. This is how it looks once you finish the line. So now we're going to get started with our new line. So how are you going to move once you've added your 2 standard beads at the corner? You're going to pick up 2 white beads, 2 powder blue beads, 4 navy beads, 2 powder blue beads, and then you continue. So we just finished the diamond at the center. Now I want to close off the navy, and then we're going to close off the big one, the powder blue one. So you're going to pick up 2 white beads, 2 powder blue, 4 navy, and then 2 powder blue. So this is how our line is once we've completed. I'm going to add the 2 standard beads that are at the corner, and then we're going to continue from there. The standard beads are added at the corner. So you're going to pick up 2 white beads, 2 powder blue, 3 navy, 2 powder blue, and then you continue with the white. 2 white, 2 powder blue, 3 navy, 2 powder blue, and then you continue with the white. This is the new, I've finished the line, so I've started the new line. So how are we going to move in this row? We are going to add 3 white beads, 2 powder blue beads, 2 navy beads, and 2 powder blue beads. And then you continue with the white beads. 3 white, 2 powder, 2 navy, 2 powder. Continue with the white. So this is the line. Once you've finished, we're going to add our standard beads at the corner. So how are we going to go about? We're going to add 3 white beads, 2 powder blue, 1 navy, 2 powder blue, and then you continue with your white beads. This is how our project is looking so far. So how do we move in this row? You're going to add 4 white beads, 4 powder blue beads. So we finally closed off our navy diamond. So now we're only going to focus on the powder blue, the outer part of our diamond. So 4 white beads, 4 powder blue, and then you continue with the rest of the white beads. So this is the new line, 4 white beads, 4 powder blue beads, and then you continue with the rest of the white. Now we're going to focus on the outer navy powder blue part. We've closed the navy blue, so now we focus on the outer part. New row, who this? 4. So for this row, we're going to add 4 white beads, 3 powder blue beads, and then you continue with the white when you finish the new row. 4 white beads, 3 powder blue, and then you continue. This is how our work is looking so far. So how are you going to go about this row? You're going to add 5 white beads, 2 powder blue beads, and then you continue with your white beads. So now we are finally closing off our diamond. So how do we go about? We're going to add 5 white beads. I was still counting the white beads. 5 white beads, 1 powder blue bead, and then you continue with your white beads. So this is where you're going to stop, queens and kings, with our pattern. So in our next tutorial, we're going to be now changing the shape of our tie. We're going to make the sharp part of our tie, and then we're going to add the top part of our tie. So you're going to continue with the pattern and add your diamonds and make it as long as you would prefer, so that we can we can continue and finish and complete our tie. I don't know why my head is blocking so much today. So this is where we're going to stop with this tutorial. So we've done our pattern. We're going to continue with the shape of our tie, and then we're done with our tie. Thank you so much for watching, queens and kings. I love you guys so much. Remember to love yourself, respect yourself, and have fun. If you love the content that you're seeing, please consider subscribing. See you on the next video. Bye.